You've probably seen in our last video that some Czech holding company took control of Federal, Remington, CCI, and Speer. Now that our ammo supply, once proudly American, is run from overseas boardrooms, what do we do about it? Simple. We buy American. In this video, we'll look at 4 ammo companies picking up the slack, rebuilding domestic capacity, and challenging the idea that only foreign-backed giants can supply America's ranges, duty belts, and backwoods rifles. We'll show you how one company is forging sniper-grade match rounds from Lapua brass and Burger bullets, how another is turning an old Cold War bomber factory into a vertically integrated primer-to-pallet operation, how a third is trimming every mile from their logistics chain to slash prices in California, and how one AR builder just threw its hat into the 5.56 ammo ring. Ammo's not dying in America. It's being reborn. Going back to that Czech company's hostile takeover of America's biggest ammo brands, we followed the trail of paperwork that put Federal, Remington, CCI, Speer, and a mountain of Alliant powder recipes in the hands of a board of directors that calls Prague home. A lot of you shook your heads, worried that overseas executives would decide whether their next weekend match or deer camp even happens. Others shrugged and figured nothing would really change. But instead of waiting for the first shipment delay to prove the point, we dug into what's coming down the pike, because the best answer to foreign leverage is more domestic capacity, and the good news is, we're getting it in 4 very different flavors. Let's start with Capstone Precision Group. It's one of those brands people might have overlooked because the logos on the shelf already feel familiar. Burger bullets have sat in cardboard sleeves on reloading benches for decades. Lapua brass comes in its signature blue boxes, and Vitavori powder tins show up whenever someone mentions extreme spread numbers that barely register on a chronograph. What's new is that Capstone has pulled all 3 ingredients under one roof, loaded them in-house, and is shipping ammo that was previously attainable only by bending over a single-stage press for an afternoon. The catalog editions start at the long-range end of the spectrum, 300 Norma Magnum with a 245-grain long-range hybrid target bullet and 338 Norma Magnum flinging a 300-grain hybrid OTM. These aren't boutique batches for holiday brochures. They mirror the exact spec used by American Special Operations snipers, right down to the lot-tested Vitavori granules that keep muzzle velocity within single-digit variation from the Kalahari to the Hindu Kush. Capstone then works down to service rifle distance with a pair of 223 Remington loads tailored to real-world barrel twists, a 73-grain boat tail for the legacy 1 and 9-inch crowd, and a 77-grain open tip for anyone running an 8-twist or faster. Walking into a high-power match with off-the-shelf ammo that traces back to Finnish brass drawn on Lapua machinery and bullets formed to 3/10,000ths jacket runout takes the stress out of load development, something that matters now more than ever when primer benches everywhere ride the same supply roller coaster. Capstone didn't stop at target circles and steel plates. Many of us spend more trigger time in the woods than on a firing line, so the company rolled its hybrid ogive recipe into 4 30-caliber hunting offerings, 2 for the good old 30-06 Springfield and 2 for the 300 WSM, topping out with a 205 grain hammer suited for elk shoulders and late-season Midwest corn-fed whitetails alike. Capstone's engineers know the sticky problem long-action hunters face with magazine length. Their bullets are jump-tolerant on purpose, which means you can feed a Ruger, a Winchester, or an old Springfield without threading the needle on seating depth. That level of plug-and-play matters to the everyday shooter who cringes at the idea of a garage full of die sets just to chase a quarter-inch of accuracy. Capstone's move doesn't merely fill a niche. It chips away at the old assumption that only Vista's gold medal configurations could run with the big dogs at 1,000 yards. Now, domestic match shooters have another lane, and as volume ramps up, price pressure pushes back against any imported sticker shock. Up next is another ammo maker called First Breach. If Capstone represents the meticulous craftsman in the new lineup, First Breach is the hard-charging builder turning a 65-acre Cold War relic into a modern ammo plant. Jeffrey Lowe and his son Jordan could have set up shop in any vacant warehouse, but they chose the old Fairchild Republic complex in Hagerstown, Maryland, a site that once rolled out A-10 Warthogs by the hundreds. They gutted hangars that were wired for round-the-clock nuclear alert production, slotted in cup drawing presses and lead smelting furnaces where fuselage jigs used to sit. The lead is melted on site, poured into wire, then swaged into projectiles yards from where the brass cases finish their final trim. That single campus approach slices weeks out of the supply chain, and the bunker once spec'd to survive a Soviet first strike now doubles as an indoor test tunnel, where loads get velocity proofing without a contractor ever leaving the compound. For the moment, First Breach runs the bread and butter lineup, 55 and 62 grain 223 and 556, plus 115 and 124 grain 9 mil. The next presses on the schedule are geared for 308 and 762 by 39. The real story isn't caliber variety, but component independence. First Breach already has federal approval to manufacture its own primers. The lines should be spinning within months, making them one of only 2 private plants in the country able to control that single, chronically vulnerable piece of the puzzle. Jordan Lowe, who learned his firefight lessons under the Golani Brigade's Green Beret, swore he'd never trust an outside source for a life-critical component again. That attitude resonates with law enforcement trainers who have started buying his ammo after watching recruits finish full shoot-house rotations without a single light strike. Production stands at 25 full-time staff, but machines crated in the staging bay will push payroll north of 50 before next summer. That may not rival a legacy plant yet, but the growth curve looks steep, and every round sold funds another tool head, another primer tower, another domestic link in a chain the foreign conglomerates can't break with a phone call. Now shift west and a little north to Freedom Munitions. Headquartered in Lewiston, Idaho, a town already scented with powder from the CCI and Spear lines, Freedom Munitions had 1 foot there and 1 in Carson City. Nevada, splitting its Extreme Bullets projectiles from its case drawing and loading operations. Splitting the workflow across 2 states made sense 15 years ago when logistics ran smoothly and diesel cost $3. After COVID-era freight spikes and powder trucking nightmares, Freedom's leadership decided every extra mile was money lost and time wasted. They closed their Nevada plant at the tail end of 2024, folded vital staff into moving vans, and built a 10,000-square-foot downtown Lewiston addition that connects bullet plating baths directly to their case annealing ovens via an overhead rail. Fewer forklifts, fewer semis, fewer chances for Murphy's Law to step in. Freedom makes fresh brass and remanufactured ammo under the same roof, feeding plated Extreme pills into 9 mil for range bags while spinning up bottleneck cases for hunting lines. By yanking duplication out of the corporate ledger, they budget more capital toward caliber expansion. Management has already greenlit new rifle casing tooling so that 2025 production lots will include lengthened head stamps for cartridges that punch past the 400-yard mark. Toby Thill, the company president, made it plain. They're not chasing ESG accolades or diversity quotas from a European bank. They're chasing throughput measured in pallets per truck and cases per minute, because that's what gets ammo back to pre-pandemic price points. Freedom's footprint also feeds the LAX ammunition retail chain in California, one of the few remaining lifelines for Golden State shooters who pay big city rent just to practice a fundamental right. By verticalizing in Idaho, Freedom keeps the LAX stockrooms from living or dying on the decisions of a check holding company's quarterly board meeting. And last but not least is Bear Creek Arsenal. Yep, you heard it right. While Capstone, First Breach, and Freedom tackle match, duty, and general-purpose workloads, Bear Creek Arsenal takes aim squarely at the shooter who dumps a mag a minute on a Saturday afternoon. The North Carolina company built its reputation cannibalizing the overpriced upper receiver market, releasing forged and billet assemblies that cost less than the high-end brand's spare bolt carrier group. Their next logical step was to feed those uppers with ammo, sporting the same golden rule. Keep it American, keep it affordable. Bear Creek's Sanford facility now turns out 5.56 NATO, loaded with a 55-grain boattail FMJ on machinery-stationed yards from the CNC mills that cut M4 feed ramps into their barrels. The powder charges run consistent because the QC team that lasers gas port diameters walks across the aisle to chrono ammo lots. Velocity deviations that would be acceptable to a contract loader set off alarms here, because the same staff will inspect any malfunction that comes back on a warranty ticket. This isn't match ammo meant to sweep PRS podiums. And Bear Creek isn't pretending otherwise. It's fuel for drills, USPSA stages, and the Tuesday Night Steel League. Every case that moves from their conveyor onto a pallet is one less dependency on a factory where the owner is debating whether a lead-free initiative qualifies for a lower LIBOR spread. For the price of 3 boutique boxes, you can leave with a stash that covers a carbine course and have cash left for a case of Gatorade. In a climate where a little panic can empty shelves in 24 hours, affordable output is more than convenience. It's preventative medicine. Critics might say a Brazilian parent company still owns Capstone's powder source or that Idaho's grid could falter in wildfire season. Fair points. Redundancy never reaches perfection. Yet these initiatives tie profits to American trigger pulls, not to a finance committee searching for carbon offsets. When Capstone's Lapua cases flow into a Berger-stamped box, the dollar lands in a U.S. payroll ledger, not in a Luxembourg fund. When First Breach pours Missouri-sourced lead into molds set up in Maryland, domestic scrap gets new life rather than being shipped overseas for smelting. Freedom's plated bullets ride 40 feet on a conveyor instead of 400 miles on a refrigerated truck. Bear Creek's rifle that left Sanford yesterday will likely spit locally loaded ammo on the same home range within a week. Those feedback loops tighten quality control, keep money circulating inside state lines, and, most importantly, leave fewer choke points for foreign boards or federal agencies to exploit. There's also a cultural dividend. Capstone's ballisticians trade 6Xs for 6-pack bragging rights at the local F-class match. Jordan Lowe from First Breach signs PPC forms with fingers that still carry shrapnel scars. Freedom's Idaho crew clocks out and shoots steel on the Snake River bank behind the plant. Bear Creek's machinists live-stream their lunchtime ammo tests and answer questions in real time. That bedrock enthusiasm can't be duplicated by a consultant flown in to tweak a quarterly slide deck. Every round these companies stamp carries a bit of that pride, and shooters sense it the minute a box lid flips open. The broader lesson from CSG's takeover was never that foreign ownership spells automatic doom. After all, Beretta has made shotguns in Maryland for decades without rationing 12-gauge to Italian clay targets first. The lesson is incentive alignment. CSG's path to cheaper capital depends on meeting sustainability scores that might conflict with civilian demand. Capstone's path to profit depends on precise hits at the King of 2 Miles finale. First Breach's future rides on primers rolling off a line built after the Lowe family mortgaged their private assets. Freedom's success is tied to shipping enough plated bullets that the plating baths never cool. Bear Creek's margin exists only when boxes churn fast enough to let the company undercut imports. Each enterprise wins by keeping Americans shooting, not by pausing presses to tick an ESG box. Over the next 12 months, you'll see Berger Lapua Vitavori Tri logos on big game shelves, First Breach head stamps at regional two-gun matches, Freedom Munitions invoices stacked at LAX counters, and Bear Creek bulk cases riding handcarts out of pawnshops. That visibility offers every gun owner a chance to vote with cash. Drop a brick of First Breach 9mm into your range bag. Slip a box of Capstone's 73-grain 223 into a match loadout. Try a Freedom Munitions plated hollow point on paper. Burn some Bear Creek 55-grain at steel. If performance flops, you'll know quickly and can tell them. If it performs, you've just rewarded the companies picking up slack left by a billion-dollar Wall Street exit. And that's all we have for you today. Would you trust your carry ammo to a new brand? Have you tried ammo from any of these four yet? Comment with your stories below, then hit like, share this video, and subscribe with the bell on. We've got more ammo news coming your way. Thanks for watching.